George Stephanopoulos buys favor with Hillary Clinton. You probably read that George Stephanopoulos, the new anchor at ABC, has given the Clinton Foundation $25,000 for each of the last 3 years, a total donation of $75,000. And of course, the fact that he gave the money was buried very deep in the foundation files, technically accessible to the public, but no, not indexed by name or anything, and nobody really unearthed it until a few days ago. To understand why he's doing that, you need to understand George, his relationship with the Clintons, and what he's trying to do by being the anchor of ABC News. George has never stopped being a composite, complete Democratic Party partisan. And more than anyone else in the news media, he is determined to use his position at ABC News to advance his liberal Democratic agenda. That makes him different from any of the other journalists who have left-wing biases. The others, which includes much of the media, are people who are journalists who want to help the liberals. Stephanopoulos is a liberal who wants to become a journalist in order to help the liberals. He comes from politics, not from journalism, and it tells. The most blatant example of that was in 2012 when Romney was running for president, and George, a lifelong Democrat, became the moderator of the Republican debate. And he used that opportunity to press Romney on the issue of birth control, which was never an issue. Nobody's been debating it. The Griswold decision legalized birth control, and nobody's brought it up since. But Obama needed it as a campaign issue. And George used much of the time in the debate and shamelessly used his position as moderator to inject that issue. But George's relationship with the Clintons has always been a stormy one. After the defeat for Congress in 1994, when the Republicans took control and Clinton brought me into the picture, Stephanopoulos really lost his power. In his book, he describes himself as having become a non-person to the Clintons and describes how he was cut out completely. So when Hillary left the State Department, and he looked at the possibility that Hillary, the probability, the certainty in his view, that Hillary would be the Democratic nominee and possibly the president, he was afraid of being cut out of the loop in that situation. George definitely needs to be in the loop. And one would assume that one of the reasons that he became the anchor at ABC News was because they wanted someone who was in the loop. Now, it was illegal, not illegal, but unethical, for a journalist to give a campaign contribution to a presidential candidate. So George couldn't give Hillary campaign money. But what he could do is give the foundation money. And he knew that the way to the Clintons' heart was through the foundation and through money. He claims that he gave the money for all the right purposes because he admired the work of the foundation. Yeah, well, how about the 11 years' worth of work in the foundation before Hillary, before 2013, where he didn't give any money to the foundation? 2013, when he began to give money to the Clinton Foundation, was a crucial year for George because it was clear that Diane Sawyer was probably on her way out as anchor. And certainly after the dead broke interview took place, where Hillary told Diane Sawyer she was dead broke when she left the White House, it was clear that Diane Sawyer would not be in the Clintons' good graces, and that they would never give her the right time of day in the future. So George wanted to move into that slot, and currying favor with the Clintons was important to his bosses at ABC. Legitimately important because you need access to the president, and politically important to George so that he could advance his liberal agenda. And that's the story behind the campaign contributions. A friend of mine, Richard Davis, who comes from Kansas City, does a cartoon called Captain Ribman, which is kind of a superhero cartoon. I've made an appearance in it occasionally, and so is George. But he gave George a new name. George Stephanopoulos. It's fitting. Thanks.